Okay, welcome back, and here we are with more TV pilot boot camp with Script Camp. We are on week one of post-apocalyptic and dystopian pilots. You don't have to be writing in that genre in order to be in these boot camps, but that is going to be the genre flavor this time, just in time for Halloween. We're also running action horror in our feature boot camp, so we have our two themes running simultaneously. Those are in our Friday 6 to 8 p.m. and Sunday 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time classes. We also are running novel boot camp Saturdays from 12 to 2. We hope that you guys sign up on our sign up sheet or our pledge sheet today. That indicates that you are interested in being in these boot camps, and it gives us a head count of how many people are going to be involved. All you have to do is enter your name and your project title. If you have one, you can write untitled if you don't have one, and then also your email address. And we can use that to keep in touch and make sure that you are officially made into a boot camper. So you'll get the proper role on Discord. You'll get instant access to the member exclusive chat channels. And you will be part of the group of boot campers that are working day by day to try to finish their script in 6 weeks for the TV pilot course, 8 weeks for the feature course, and 12 weeks for the novels. So in the chat right now, you can find the links to sign up for those different programs. Nacho in the chat is asking if this is recording. Yes, it is. Recording on the cloud and also locally. There's the bootcamp links. Thank you for that. And so you can see the links to sign up for any of the upcoming or ongoing sessions for feature, which is right now on Sunday, 11 to 1, TV in this current slot, Friday 6 to 8, and novels Saturdays 12 to 2. Just so you know, there is no feature class this upcoming Sunday, though, the day after tomorrow, because that is the day of our Spooktacular, which is going to be the first, maybe annual, perhaps, maybe monthly, we don't know, but tradition of it's going to be a workshop, an intensive workshop from 12 to 6 p.m. at the Boyle Heights Arts Collective, or right next to it at the building that is connected to the Paramount. So if you are wondering what that is, Paramount is like a music venue, and connected to it, it used to be a ballroom, but now that is the venue where we're going to be. And that is going to be running from, I just mentioned, from pretty much all day, from 12 to 6. You can come by for some of it or for all of it if you want to. We're going to try to come up with a full set of story beats, meaning a pretty detailed outline, not a full set of scene cards, but like a solid, strong outline for your movie in the realm of 3 to 5-ish pages. So that is the goal for that day. I'll be taking a sort of lunch break in the middle, but we're flexible on people coming and going, so it should be a fun session. We hope you come by and join our group. So you can find more on that at our meetup, by the way, which is Skill Camp is the name of our meetup page. And there in the chat, you'll also find thank you Nacho links to all of our different social media platforms like YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Facebook, and WordCamp on Quora. Okay, this is the schedule for this class today. We were going to be looking at log lines if you had anything to turn in to finalize them for the upcoming course. If you don't have a log line finished yet, you could finish it by the end of today and get feedback on it a little bit later in the class. The goal for this week is to write your story beats and or a one sheet. Story beats would be that document of about one to 5 pages, something like that, which is going to list out the major scenes in your movie. And it does not have to be so prescriptive as to include the page numbers, but it is going to hit the most important stuff and keep things in the correct order, and also include structural headings to keep straight which part of the movie is fulfilling which structural role. At the very least, you're going to want to mark out the beginning, midpoint, and ending, so we have a sense of where those 3 acts might be broken up. And then as we move forward, next week is going to be scene cards, finishing up those full outlines before we start pages on week 4, which from that point on is going to be just an act a week. First act, week 4, second act, week 5, final act, week 6. And we do have a Thanksgiving holiday break, though, just to note. Usually you can expect on Thanksgiving and Christmas around those times the class will be off. But there is the tentative schedule at least. Hopefully everyone is able to follow along and hit the milestones okay, if that is in fact what they're trying to do. We will start with check-in today to find out where you are on your projects. See, essentially, have you been hitting your page counts? Have you been making your progress that you want to make? And if not, what's standing in the way? Is there some question you have or some issue that is preventing you from making further progress? We will finalize loglines if you have any, or if you are even finished, like starting on your loglines now and starting to shape something into a logline. Maybe you could get that feedback on that. Story engine overview, we'll look at the essential elements that make a TV show click together and function and work. Big picture, getting down into the weeds of character dynamics and the way that they interact within a structure, an episodic structure, a plot structure, and different story engines to keep your characters all in proximity with each other, having adventures week after week. We can look at characters, both an overview of character and this idea of character from situation. How do we derive the right character for the right situation? Make sure that they're properly being tested and having their values kind of incrementally shifted, not from A to Z, but from A to B by the end of that pilot. And then moving into questions and open lab. Anybody know what this picture's from?
Is it Junji Ito?
It is Hellstar Ramina by Junji Ito, yes. This is sort of, it almost feels a little like Majora's Mask, this idea that there's like this apocalyptic event that is a moon is going to collide with the Earth, or some kind of gas giant. I think it might be just some kind of massive planet. But the closer it gets, the more it starts to develop these like human-ish characteristics. Look, an eyeball opens up in it. It eventually turns out to have a giant scary face on it, and it like eats the Earth by wrapping its tongue around the Earth and chomping it up. Pretty crazy, right?
No crazier than sharks coming out of the ocean on mechanical crab legs.
Ooh. Yes, that's another apocalyptic story. That's called Gyo. Gyo. That's basically fish and sharks of all kinds. They grow legs overnight. They crawl up onto the land. They burst down people's doors, and they just start to. It's like Jurassic Park, but with fish and sharks. And suddenly they all just have crazy appendages that they never had before. What's the craziest post-apocalyptic or dystopian premise you guys have seen?
The craziest. That's kind of hard.
I mean, it's sort of like a more like a it comes up sort of in discussions about uh AI superintelligence. Just something replaces the solar system with paper clips. Like, an AI is trained to like make paper clips or something and it just like keeps going, never stops.
And everything is now made of paper clips? Like
Everything, no, there, all the material of the earth was repurposed to make paper clips, and so now the
like
entire
and sort of like recycled into
yeah,
like paper clips made of earth and rock and
and I
materials
think
like
even
that.
and it keeps going. The whole solar system is all paper clips. Yeah,
My God, that's a
and
book
all the
you read?
people are dead, obviously. No, it's just a discussion in. I mean, or I've read about this scenario from a
Oh,
few different sort of like AI thought experiment
it's just a thought experiment. Okay.
books.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Um,
it's supposing a world in which everything has been sort of processed by machines to the point of absurdity, and to the point where
and
everything has been recycled. Is that right?
and another one that comes up is uh Rococo's Basilisk.
What's that?
Are you familiar with this one?
No, not that one.
Or Rocco's Basilisk? It's basically like if there is a chance that there could be an artificial superintelligence in the future, um, you know, it's possible that it might punish anyone who didn't help it come into being in the future. So it's sort of like it comes from an old um like Pascal was a philosopher who said like, well, if everyone were rational, should live as though God
Mhm.
exists, because if it's even a very small chance, the cost of not behaving as though God exists is much higher than if he just doesn't turn out to be real, right? And
Right.
so Rocco's basilisk is this kind of the same thing. It's like, well, you should really help AI super intelligence to come into being because it's a possibility it could exist, and then it's a
Yeah.
possibility it could
Just to hedge
punish
your
us if
bets.
we don't.
Just to like
Exactly.
play the odds. Yeah, I love it.
Hmm.
Okay. So you're saying this kind of ties
Well,
into the apocalyptic ideas in terms of like if the apocalypse ever is to come about, then certainly the AI would reward its collaborators and punish everyone else. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Or even if there's a small chance that it lets you live or whatever. Like,
I wonder if there's a TV show in this idea, right? Like the robocalypse has happened, and now how
mhm.
like the people that were the collaborators that helped it come into being are now living a sort of it's like a sitcom about those people, I guess. What would that kind of
Sitcom.
yeah, they live the rest of the human race is
Yeah.
enslaved except for like a few hundred people that now own like everything.
Hmm.
It's kind of like Last Man on Earth. That's fun.
Or I have no mouth and I cannot scream, sort of.
Right, exactly. Luke, did you say
If
you
you
had one?
take it in a dark direction.
yeah, it's called Blom, is how it's pronounced. But if you just search blame exclamation mark, you'll find it. It's a manga or an anime, and basically it's similar to the Grey Goo scenario Nacho was describing, but it's a city. It's a city that starts on Earth and eventually grows to larger than, I don't know, the size of the solar system or something like that.
Whoa.
Just a massive city,
Is it sort
endlessly
of
self-replicating.
is it like consuming everyone, or is it sort of is everyone okay? What's going on? Is the city is it populated?
No, people are sparsely, you know, there's little enclaves of people and machines and things, but it's very sparsely populated, and most people probably did not survive the expansion of the city.
How many episodes? Crazy.
Yeah, look at
For
the
sure.
images. There's some really cool
There's not that many on
cities.
the wiki,
Just
but
go to like Google Images. It's also a manga. You might find better images of the city from the manga than the anime.
seems cool. But thank you for sharing this. I'm not much of an anime guy myself, so I kind of miss out on some of these cool worlds.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's cool. It kind of reminds me of in Dexter's laboratory when he goes into that part of his lab that has been. It was like he forgot he even made it, and it looks like Coruscant. It looks that's like hundreds of layers, and it goes just keeps going down deeper and deeper. Yeah, that's very cool. Thank you for sharing.
It's like if Coruscant was the size of the solar system, basically, and
Right.
just full of self-replicating machines that their only function is to keep building the city.
Yeah, it sounds like a Soulsborne game where all you do is wander this big city and fight the monsters that or the machines that attack you. All right, so let's take a look at what are we working on. You can start with anything you're reading and watching if you want to. What scripts have you read lately? And then tell us about your bootcamp project if you are working on one. That would be title, genre, comps, loglines if you have them to share. And you can today you don't have to go into it right away, but we will touch upon your story engine. Okay, let's go down our list and we'll start with Cinnamon. Are you there? You have no idea what I asked. So it's on the slide right on the screen. Are you watching the live stream? Okay, I can repeat the question. So you can tell us about your bootcamp project, title, genre, comps, logline, or story. Anything about you want the story engine that you want to share? Ask someone else first. Okay, sounds good. We'll go down the list. Foster, thanks for joining. You're up in terms of the check-ins. Do you want to tell us what you're working on? Okay, it looks like your mic is on mute there. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me okay, but feel free to speak up if you're able to. Okay, we'll go to Luke.
I am writing several things, one of which is probably dystopian. It's a sci-fi, almost like a parody. And I've just listed I go back and forth on the comps, but right now it's Red Dwarf meets Office Space, and you're familiar with this one. It's called Status Quo. You've read both the log lines already.
Great. All right. What's the progress?
Pretty good. I think I'm uh, almost happy with Act One and starting Act Two. But I have the whole thing pretty well mapped out, and I have a much stronger um, introductory scene for our duo. Our duo starts off like antagonistic towards one another rather than sort of like building up to that breaking point. They just start at that breaking point.
Got it. Okay. Great. And any questions, issues, or things you want to ask about before we move on?
The biggest issue I have is trying to make it funny. I have my own kind of dark sense of humor, but I'm trying to make it more generally funny in certain places. So hopefully that's working, but I think that's going to be my biggest struggle. It's like punching up the humor, and I don't know if people really like dry, dark, cynical humor, they'll probably enjoy it. So maybe I should just lean into that
I would.
more
Yeah,
so.
that's a popular tone, I think, nowadays. You also, I normally would not worry too much about whether it's funny on the first draft through, just to make sure that the story is all working together. Like, I kind of look at the funniness as a second draft idea. The first time you might get ideas for jokes, or you might try something and it just kind of flops, but it might just take getting everything down first in order to avoid kind of letting that trip you up too much. So that's what I would really recommend. If you have the draft done already, then of course, then you can do the funny pass.
Oh no, I'm alternating between multiple things, but this one has been the one I've been spending more time on recently. So um,
Okay, well, yeah, don't
yeah,
let it slow you down then. Don't let the humor prevent you from doing pages at least.
it's helping me get more pages down, but I still feel like my page count is really low. Like I just have a limited number of words in my brain that I can produce per day.
Yeah, that's how it is with everyone. I think everyone has a different line, and some days you have more juice than others. But yeah, just set a benchmark for yourself. Say I'm going to try to, like, normally I aim to write 5 pages a day. If I don't make five, it's okay, and I'll settle for like three. You know what I mean? So if you just set a reasonably high benchmark or expectation, and you take a shot at it, and you land anywhere close to it at all, then you've made some progress. Anyway, everyone works differently, so of course, maybe that will not work for you, but that is how I think of it. I see a question in the chat from Cinnamon. I'd like to know if you count Godzilla as post-apocalyptic. If so, that's one of my favorite post-apocalyptic concepts. Okay, it kind of depends on the Godzilla. I mean, for the most part, society actually moves on. Like, I don't think Godzilla ever exactly triggers the apocalypse, except in maybe one movie. The looming threat of the apocalypse is present, but like just from the idea that if these monsters win, these evil monsters win, then Godzilla, has failed and all of humanity might be doomed. Pacific Rim, I think, is even closer towards the apocalyptic concept because in that it's more than just one giant monster. It's like an unending army of them. So that's you could look at that as almost like an evolution of the Godzilla kind of concept, like blowing it up to 100 times its size and saying it's not just one good kaiju versus the bad kaiju. It's the humans versus an army of bad kaiju. In any case, it is not quite post-apocalyptic for the most part, and nor is it exactly dystopian. Although the societies that exist around these kaiju attacks do occasionally take on this sci-fi dystopian vibe, especially if you watch the more recent Kong versus Godzilla kind of movies. They seem to take place in a world with a lot of government overreach, but at the end of the day, I guess we need government overreach because the world's being torn apart by giant monsters. So your mileage might vary. Hope that answers your question. Thank you for that.
Are there post-apocalyptic utopias? Like, I think Star
Isn't
Trek
Star
takes
Trek?
place
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
yeah,
Star Trek in its timeline has a huge, almost apocalyptic war, like nuclear war, I believe.
right.
So part of the supposition might even be that we need to have the world be devastated before the apocalypse or before the utopia can really rise. I think that is a concept that was explored in sci-fi of the 60s and 70s. There's probably more of them too. I can't, nothing else jumps to mind right now. Okay. Anyone else? Who have I not checked in with? Uh, Oliver, do you want to share your project, what you're working on?
I don't I don't write like stuff like that. I haven't made one. I don't think I've ever thought of it personally. I am interested in probably making one sooner or later for one of my other projects, but like I'm not exactly sure how to. I'm never educated into the fact of it. The most I've gotten into quote unquote post-apocalyptic is the fucking I'm sorry, Hunger
Okay.
Games, which isn't really that is more dystopian than anything. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's
Uh,
okay. I mean, you don't have to be writing in those genres to be in the course. You can be writing anything you want.
I know. Like that's the most I've ever read, quote unquote, like dystopian kind of, and that even that's not even kind of. I'm not sure if I consider that to be.
Okay, all good. I
Anyway,
mean,
sorry.
are you interested
Are
in
you,
screenwriting? Are
are
you
you-
looking to learn how to write a script?
Oh no, I've been doing it for well, a while now.
You've been doing it. Okay, great. Not sure
Yes,
you
I
want to
have.
speak up.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask, yeah, like, are you writing a TV pilot, or is there something you're working on these days?
Yes, I work on a lot of different screenplays just to test out what I can and can't do. The most recent one I did being one I did today. I just did the opening scene for it, about the Irish Independence War of 1919 and 1921. I'm not sure if you remember me. I'm the guy who only does historical stuff, sadly. So I won't know
Not
much
badly.
about dystopian.
Okay, all good. Well, you
Yeah,
might know more
sorry.
about every dystopian story is rooted in historical context, so there's always some crossover there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I have thought about that before. And not to exactly like kind of like I think I did try to do one beforehand, but I'm not sure how that exactly went because I don't remember. I think it was what I thought would be like a futuristic like a mafia movie that takes place in the future.
Sounds cool.
I'm not sure what that would have been because I didn't continue it.
Okay, well, yeah, it's a good basis to just start with like it's this kind of story, but in this setting. Just like a really simple this meets that. It's I often recommend
Yeah,
starting with a simpler pitch and then expanding from there, rather than starting with I've written 900 pages of backstory.
I I'm not sure if I've ever okay, that's a lie. I have done backstory before. I yeah, anyway.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Did I not check in with
Yeah,
you?
no.
Nacho, did you want to tell us about your project status and your progress?
Sure,
Oh,
yeah.
he
So
just left.
um
He just hopped right out. Okay. Bye, Oliver. Go ahead, Nacho.
oh, uh
I scared him
you
away.
might need to like wave your hand.
Oh, because oh, you think because I went out of
Yeah.
focus? Maybe that's why he left, because he's like, I'm not watching no blurry ass stream. He has standards.
Hmm.
All right. What do you got,
Yeah.
Nacho?
Yeah, some people still have those.
Look, you
Um
can have a clear, good stream when you show up for the class. That's the rule. That's the
there you go.
compromise that we'll make. When we get 5 people, the stream will improve by 50%.
Um yeah, so this is a sci-fi mystery box show. Comps are Severance and Shutter Island. Already sort of broke the story and wrote the story beats with my writing partner, but our next step would be to expand that a bit into scene cards and write up a synopsis of the story of the pilot. Um,
Okay.
so after his wife vanishes from the dementia village where they live, A memory-impaired veteran must outsmart his caretakers to find her, only to learn the facility is a military research outpost in a war against alien infiltrators.
Great.
So I guess it's sort of a dystopia.
Oh, for sure. It's a corporate dystopia.
Yeah. And then the pilot episode is just a retired veteran searching for his missing wife, discovers he is trapped in an experimental staged community for dementia patients.
Great. Okay, your series logline is 10 out of 10. The pilot logline, so is his goal now to escape, or is his goal, I need to stay there and find her?
Are you saying at the end of the pilot or like during the pilot?
During the pilot.
Yeah, so during the pilot, he doesn't realize that he's trapped.
Oh, until the end.
Right? He thinks he's just trying to find his wife. So I think by the end, so by the end of Act 2, he starts to kind of like realize he starts to believe the line that they're giving him, that it's a community for dementia patients. So I guess I would say like he doesn't really, yeah, I guess he doesn't, I don't know if they're trapped is the right word, but like he doesn't, mainly he's just trying to find the wife. And then by the end of the episode, he realizes he's trapped.
Okay, so that's sort of the last thing that happens, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And somewhere around the middle, he kind of realized it's a staged community for dementia patients. But
Right.
then he doesn't understand that he's trapped there, that he can't leave.
Okay. Okay. I think I get it. So, but you're saying, so the thrust of the rest of the show is it going to be him trying to escape or trying to find the wife?
It's a good question. Yeah, maybe that, I guess, um, you know, he might be trapped in the sense of like thinking he's a dementia patient, confined to a room, right? And he escapes that room, but he doesn't realize that he can't escape the actual village until towards the end of the episode. So I think
Right.
that what's driving him is finding his wife.
Yeah,
And
I think that's your answer.
Mhm.
Because even if he finds her, they both still have dementia, so they would need to stay in a care facility anyway. So the weight of the dramatic conflict is just, where is she? Like, I want her back. I think that's the important part. So yeah, something to consider. Thank you for sharing those.
Okay.
Series logline working really well. Megan, did you have something to share? A project updates? Anything you're working on?
Not with regard to this particular subject, but I thought I would come and listen because I always learn something new from you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Did I miss anyone else? Okay. Let's get into story engine. So an engine much like the engine in the car, has many different moving parts. But the thing about it is that it cannot exactly be easily expressed. There's not just like one sentence that says, "This is my engine." The engine is kind of this ephemeral, intangible thing that's like the result of everything working together. A really good story engine will sort of seem evident from a strong logline, a strong series logline. It should be pretty clear how we're going to get more than just one single story out of this, and how we're going to potentially have years of storyline from this one concept. So, hundreds of hours. It's going to altogether fuse your characters and situation and the setting together to continually generate this sense of recurring episodic conflict. So we need to have a good idea of what is unique about the characters. What do they want? What is the world that they live in? And what is their role in it, basically? Often we can centralize that in an idea like some sort of unifying problem or profession. We would ask, who are just the different characters that live in this world, and what are the rules of the world? What is allowed? What can the characters do? How what do people have superpowers? Can they fly? Are they from planets? How do new people intersect with the main characters as well? These are all just elements that, when they're all like you don't have to go down a checklist and fill out something for every single one of these, but it should just be evidence how your show will be continuing and the characters will be either pursuing one continual expansive problem over the course of many years, or maybe if it's a miniseries, just one big arc problem, or if it's going to be a problem of the week kind of show, then it should be clear how that's going to be working, how we're going to be facing a case of the week, patient of the week, crime of the week, or whatever it is. Some different engine elements might include the profession or a unifying goal or problem. What is the centerpiece sort of unifying problem of the world of the Purge?
I guess the Purge itself.
Yeah, what's the Purge for those who haven't seen it?
Or are you talking about crime? Is that the Purge is a day where crime is legal. Well, that's not quite it. So in
I
order
think they
to
actually do
combat,
phrase it that way sometimes. I think they say in those exact terms at least once. So you're not too far off just with that. But go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
okay, so yeah, in order to combat the the crime problem throughout the rest of the year, there's a single day where people are basically just allowed to kill each other, and that somehow pacifies them for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, but that's the premise.
Well, it doesn't make any sense in the first movie, but the show, I will say, adds a lot of context. And we kind of come to, and the later movies, I don't know if you've seen the whole franchise. I'm not saying that, I'm not recommending it. It's not, I don't think any of them are even good, but I've seen all of them. But the third one, especially Election Year and the TV show, adds a little bit of extra context there. And I think this is just like at the core of what makes the difference between a movie engine and a show engine, right? Because the TV show peels back layers of the Purge and asks, well, who's behind it, right? What's it actually for? Like, why would it sort of shares your opinion of it doesn't make sense. Why would one day a year where people get to do crime result in less crime? And the answer, it turns out, is because this secretive kind of patriot Illuminati type group that is manipulating the political situation in Washington is using it to essentially purge the lower classes. And so that's why they have agitators that they hire to join the groups of purgers and to try to like whip them up and incite them into a frenzy. And so they have like crisis actors and things like that that they in fact pay to go. And so it sort of fills in those questions from the earlier movies of, well, how would this actually work, right? Like, what are the actual logistics of this? Andor is a kind of interesting additional example of like expanding a world, moving from a movie story engine into a TV show story engine, and therefore seeing, well, like okay, but why are there bottomless pits everywhere? Like we sort of start filling in the gaps of like, okay, it's an expansive galaxy-wide empire. Well, how the hell did they get enough materials to make a Death Star? A story engine for a show can keep peeling back those layers and unveiling more and more and digging deeper into the premise and filling in those interesting questions. Oh, you saw Watch Channel recently. So where do we get all the resources to make the Death Star?
Everywhere, but you get the kyber crystals from Gorman. What's the name of that planet?
Yeah, Gorman, that's right.
Um, Something like that. I don't know if it's kyber crystals. It's some kind of material that they needed.
Yeah, to make the Death Star super weapon, we need to strip mine, essentially, like frack a planet, to the point that it will. They understand that it will destabilize the planet entirely, and cause the atmosphere to collapse, and basically every civilization there will be wiped out or forced to emigrate and leave. And so they decide we're just not going to tell anyone about it, and we're just going to keep mining the planet until we get everything we need. But the locals do not take it well, which leads to, of course, an infamous event within the sort of Star Wars universe. The whole show is building up to probably the most dystopian of all the events in the series, which is the Gorman Massacre. This was, I think, referenced as early as the X-Wing computer games in the early 90s, but has finally again been expanded upon and turned from just an anecdote, just like the Clone Wars were originally just a little anecdote in the movie, right? But the more we expand a franchise, the more we can start to fill in those gaps and learn who was responsible for those different things, what different forces were at play in the world, and really see the interconnectedness of everything. See how, the economics managed to affect the situation, and see how all these different perspectives that we just can't see in a movie because we don't have a broad enough broad enough array of POV characters. So there's a lot you can do in a TV show that you cannot do in a movie. We can build out a much more substantial world. with more complicated rules and with more going on, with more different groups of characters and just more characters. Your spotlight is so much broader. And so sometimes the challenge becomes, how do we condense everything in such a way that it feels like a story engine and not just a list of different ideas for crazy random stories that have no connection between them. The unifying goal or problem, which we mentioned for the world of the Purge, that's one example. Sometimes we see a profession as well that connects the characters together, or maybe even the main character is sort of in charge of some kind of profession that makes them the boss and gives them the most authority, but they don't have to be the one in charge. Your character's profession can put them in an interesting dynamic with the other characters too. They don't have to, it can be something that's they're brand new to, or something that we're settling into that they've been doing for a long time. And that's sort of more the status quo style of story engine, where not status quo like Luke's show, but meaning the status quo continuity format, wherein we join a group of characters that are already sort of in the middle of a conflict, or perhaps they're just starting another day in their lives, like a lot of cartoons and sitcoms are kind of like this. And we manage to navigate to some problem that is resolved by the end of the episode. So that is called status quo based continuity. In terms of profession, can you guys name a dystopian or post-apocalyptic show that has a character with some kind of clear profession or different professions that are binding the characters together?
Last of Us, Joel is a contractor and also a smuggler.
Yep, there you go. And so are some of the other characters, like Tess. She does the same stuff. They're couriers and delivery people that are hired to smuggle stuff, and sometimes people from state to state in this horrific apocalyptic wasteland. It gives the character something to do, and the fact that the entire first season is just one job just puts him on an easy quest trajectory. Like it says, every episode we're going to be working towards the completion of just essentially one of the many jobs that you do. If they were to do a Judge Dredd TV show, you might imagine it would be the same thing, where each season would just sort of be one investigation, or maybe even each episode. If I were to do Judge Dredd, I might even do just Xena style, like every episode is completely just like status quo, but in the hour-long format. Someone should do it. What else? What are some other unifying professions that we see in this subgenre?
And specifically post-apocalypse or also dystopia?
Yeah, either or, both, all of the above. How about mystery solvers, like Juliet from Silo?
I mean, is that her job or is that just her role?
She's the sheriff.
Like,
So yeah, no, it's her actual
oh
job.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. She becomes sheriff.
Yeah. So, but she's an outsider that becomes sheriff unexpectedly, which adds a wrinkle to the engine, because it is to say that she is not experienced in this position. She's brand new here. She's out of place. Everyone doesn't know how to interact with her. She comes from the lower decks, the lower grimy class area. And so she's kind of a fish out of water, but also has been given this responsibility, this position of authority, to be the one to investigate a murder, which is, or like a death, essentially, or several different deaths, which are at the core and the driving questions of the first season. What else? Cinnamon mentions Handmaid's Tale. Okay, what's their unifying profession? Handmaids. Okay, what exactly? I've only seen the first like 2 or 3 episodes. I don't remember exactly. What is a handmaid? Are they sort of just like wives? Like, or is there something else they're supposed to be doing? Luke says they're breeders. Okay, have babies. All right, so basically forced stay-at-home moms. Is that what they do? Forced breeders, right? Okay. Yep, that is sort of a profession. I mean, normally we would think of a profession as something you're paid for. Being a slave is not exactly a traditional profession, but it is a shared kind of like collective task for your characters to do. Or like being prisoners, for instance, is not really a profession, but it might kind of bind your characters together in such a way that makes your engine click and work.
How about Twisted Metal? John Doe is a milkman, which means basically he's just a delivery man and one of many. And I guess they also have like pizza delivery and stuff like that. It's a bit campy.
I haven't actually watched Twisted Metal, so is there not sort of like a death race element involved, or what is the
Yeah, there is,
what is the plot line? There is.
but yeah, the first season is like building up to the tournament. The tournament is season 2.
Tournament is
But
on the second season. Okay,
the
interesting.
whole first season is just post-apocalyptic, kind of, I don't know, insiders versus outsiders. I think that's actually what the factions are named. Like
Oh,
you
wow.
have people inside cities and then people that are kept outside of the cities.
Okay, like the wild
It's,
bandits and stuff like that.
if I remember correctly.
Yes. Let's break down the engine elements of Last of Us Season 1. A story engine is going to, of course, operate on its characters. They're the primary players that will need to advance goals in your show. They are pursuing goals and applying tactics to make incremental progress towards those goals on both the bigger scale, meaning you are setting them up to make even more progress in theoretical future episodes that you're not going to get to write because you're writing only the pilot. And then, of course, we're making progress on our goals in just the pilot alone. So we have some goals that will finish and some goals that will be left unresolved deliberately, and you must leave that road to be traveling down in order to have that space and feel like there is this implicit more episodes to go. That's like a really important part of story engine, is making it feel like there's going to be more after this. Okay, let's look at the Last of Us Season 1. We have Joel, we mentioned just a minute ago. He is a delivery guy, basically. We mentioned the delivery guy obviously makes for a good archetype in a post-apocalyptic kind of setting. He has to escort a girl from point A to point B across a dangerous country. His emotional walls and interpersonal struggles cause problems that must be solved, and his central relationship is with his partner on this trip, whose name is Ellie. Their slow bonding takes center stage as the show's key central arc. Occasionally, the focus does shift from Joel to Ellie, but it is fundamentally Joel's story. It is season 1 is about the ways that this man changes and refuses to change. In terms of the structure and the engine, it is tragedy. It is road trip structure with tragedy of the week. So road trip structure means that we have some far off goal in the distance, and every increment along the way makes for some sort of detour, challenge, or different kind of problem that needs to be solved before we can get to the next thing. Often that will be something like, well, we need a part to I'm sure you guys ever watched a space opera in your entire life. We need the part to fix the ship before we can go to the next planet. That makes for a really easy road trip structure beat. Oh no, the car broke down. We're going to need to get some gasoline to get going and go to the next part, right? So that kind of every problem sort of marks a segment along the way. In addition to each problem and sort of interwoven with each problem comes a tragedy of the week, which is like some new character that we meet that they're either some kind of reflection on either Joel or Ellie and there's kind of their role status or self-perception as a father or a daughter, basically. And then something terrible happens to them that makes us reflect tragically on the idea of love. And then we move on from that character and we go to the next thing. That's the engine of the show. So these two are the core. We go from incident to incident, episode to episode of horrific tragedy to tragedy, and every time we make progress getting closer towards our destination. Really, really simple, really clear story engine. Any questions about those basics there? Oh, I guess I would mention also the antagonists along the way. There is not one consistent antagonist. It is, in fact, just sort of like the many enemies. It's based on a video game, so it's kind of like the many enemies of the post-apocalypse. At every, sometimes we face a zombie that acts kind of like a boss kind of character. Sometimes we meet gangs of raiders or individual psychopathic cults or things like this. But ultimately, the obstacles are either going to be comprised of monsters and other humans. Okay, anybody have any questions about how that works, or anybody want to add anything there? Luke, you've been on a kick lately. Anything to add?
Oh yeah. I don't know. We pretty much covered their entire central relationship, so yeah, that's the story engine.
I guess
So I guess
a thread
it
that we
changes in
okay.
season 2.
Yeah, exactly. And
It
and like I think there is some stuff that we start in season 1 that carries over into season 2. Like everything about Ellie's
yeah.
self-identity that sort of like becomes the main thread in season 2.
And Joel's role changes. He goes back to doing what he did before the apocalypse, which is a contractor. He's
Right.
fixing pipes and electricity and building houses and this kind of thing.
Yeah, season 2 is not a road trip. Oh, season 2 becomes a road trip structure in the latter half, But the first half is actually more just like a post-apocalyptic drama. We're not really in the action thriller world until things really kick off and get going. So yeah, that one's kind of structurally interesting. Most other series don't change formats quite as much, but being based on two video games from years apart, you can see how maybe that happens. Slightly different visions of those games. Let's pick a show that you guys know, especially in the post-apocalyptic or dystopian genre, and tell me about how the engine works. I've got some suggestions here behind me. These are some popular shows like Walking Dead and Severance. I know all the ones here pretty well. And Battlestar is, of course, post-apocalyptic, I insist, because Caprica gets destroyed and these people are left wandering looking for a new home. Who wants to volunteer to tell us about a story engine and how it works?
I could try Twisted Metal.
Great.
So it's been forever since I've seen the first season.
Give it a shot.
So from what I remember, we meet our main character, whose name is John Doe, and he drives the car Roadkill. That's about as close as we get to the games. It's a post-apocalyptic kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a world that's like stuck in the mid 2000s, and our main character is a delivery guy. And in the course of a delivery gone wrong, he makes a bunch of enemies and acquires a companion who refuses to speak to him, so he just calls her Quiet. And they have like a will they, won't they kind of thing going on for their story. And then there is an enemy, or several enemies. There is like a group of, I don't know, police officers. And I think that might be based on the character Outlaw from the games. There's Sweet Tooth, who's like a mad serial killer clown. And I forget what their actual goal is. I think they're trying to make it to like a specific city. It might actually be Los Angeles or something. They're trying to get inside the wall of the city. But everything in the universe is getting in their way. All these enemies that they're making, like Sweet Tooth, or there's a bunch of them that don't even exist in the games. There's like an exterminator van driven by a crazy lady, and a few other interesting ones.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So that's also a road trip style where they're making progress every week, getting closer towards a distant goal.
Yeah, I remember now. He has a map. He has this little like he's lost his memory because, obviously cliche. And he has a map from childhood, and it's literally drawn in crayons, and it looks like a little curvy road with like a house and all these little things on it. And he's trying to follow the map to get to the goal. So we have pretty clear progress markers that we can see.
Maps are really good for that. That's why the Indiana Jones thing of like watching the map, watching the progress trace across the map can be a nice way to showcase your character's progress. If there's any ambiguity about it, you typically want to make the progress explicitly clear. Thank you for sharing that. Dakota, do you want to tell us about Falling Skies?
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite shows.
All right.
It's great.
I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it. Tell me all about it.
Oh, it's great. So it has Noah Weil. So if you're into the pit, this is a great show to kind of watch if you like him a lot. It's a post-apocalyptic world where it takes place 6 months after an alien invasion wipes out 90% of the human population, resulting in about 700 million people still left alive. Most cities are destroyed, capitals are destroyed. It's awful. And it follows this group of people that are led basically by the remnants of the U.S. Army, or part of the U.S. Army, and it kind of just, a bunch of ragtag group of people. They call themselves the Second Mass, as in the Second Massachusetts. And our main character is Tom, and he is a history professor with a specific knowledge of military history. That is his expertise, is military stuff. He knows a lot about battle and war and everything else. And the main kind of story engine in the first, because each season has a different like goal in mind, because it's basically a big long war story between humans versus aliens versus another group of aliens that come later in season 2. But season 1 is all about all of these aliens are killing the aliens that invaded are killing everybody. We have to, not die. So in order to do that, we have to get to a safe location. Also, we have to find, Tom is really trying to find his son, Ben, who is currently missing. And along the way, they meet, a lot of, hostile groups, mostly, uh, scavengers, people that are, trying to, like almost like raiders or gangs or whatever it is, like very post-apocalyptic kind of, it does they don't try to reinvent any wheels here. They really don't. A lot of it is based on the character relationships that they have, because it's really about we have to survive, and also we have to maintain like some sense of order. It's really about order versus disorder. Yeah, like that's kind of the main theme of the show. Like, what is the purpose of government now? Now that the government doesn't exist, what do we do? How do we go about doing things?
So
Yeah,
it
it's
starts.
really, really good.
So you think it starts as more of a war show, but then it becomes a little more sort of political as they end up having to build society
Yeah.
back up.
Yep. Yep.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Stuff starts to build back up. It becomes more political, and it becomes like, well, how is the war going to continue, and who's leading us now, and diplomatic relations. Can we trust these new group of aliens in season 2? Like, are they with the other guys that tried to invade us before? Like, it becomes political quick.
Okay, got it. But so it sounds like the central story engine is revolving around this war.
Yeah.
So the war is not done. I imagine it's not like we win the war and the show keeps going. I imagine the war will not be resolved until the very end of the show, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. The last. Yeah.
So yeah, war engines, they typically work a couple different ways. In that case, it sounded like you were saying there was sort of like a road trip arc, at least, like a sort of
There
government
is.
element, right? And that makes for a good war type of objective too. But so war engines are based on objectives. And so those are going to be like the missions that your characters go on, that in theory would be progressing the front of the war. Your job then becomes you have to clarify what impact it's having, and you have to showcase like, are we actually gaining ground or not, and what does that look like? And like sometimes it's useful in that case to set up like for each kind of quest of the week that your characters are going on, not just what is the enemy and what the enemy is armed with and like what we're up against, what the obstacles are, but also think of like what tangible benefit do we get from this, that at the end of the episode we can actually say this was worth it. Like this feels like, or unless your show is about how they totally fail, or like, and that's okay too, but like make sure it doesn't just feel like, well, another victory down, now we move right on. It should actually feel like substantial progress has been made, and like uh the like this was all for something. Otherwise, like unless you're doing a show that's all about the pointlessness of war, of course, but like if it's part of your core engine, if the war is part of your core engine, and in sci-fi war type shows it usually is, like we want to watch the progression of that war, then you have to just make really clear what those benchmarks are. Like, if we don't complete this mission, we are not going to get water, and this town of people is going to die of dehydration. Like, we're going to have a really clear stakes and ramifications for that we and like try to avoid intangible stakes. Like, well, if we lose this battle, I guess our side lost some resources overall. Like, it's better if you have like something that we can actually see and some stakes that we can really feel within that episode. Hope that helps. War engines are kind of complicated, so might not recommend doing one as your very first pilot if it is your very first. All right, thank you for the commenting on those engines. In a little bit, I'll come back to this discussion question of maybe you can speak to the engine of your show concept, and you can tell us about what is going to be generating those conflicts for many episodes. I'll come back to that in a little bit. Do we have any questions on engines before we move into characters?
We talked a lot about post-apocalyptic, but we didn't really talk about dystopias. And I'm thinking of like Handmaid's Tale in particular. I didn't get a sense of, I mean, I get this, like they're trapped in this horrible scenario or whatever, but like what are our protagonists trying to do for the whole show? I didn't get a big sense of that from the pilot.
I've only seen a few episodes, but if somebody else can weigh in, my understanding is that she becomes involved in like resistance, underground kind of terrorist, like
Okay,
insurgent espionage type of stuff. I think, right? Doesn't it?
that makes sense.
Can somebody confirm that?
And I think there's also like a missing daughter or something, if I remember.
Oh, the main character
As
has a
part of
missing
the
daughter.
story
Like
engine.
a mystery plot line too, maybe.
I might be mixing it up with another show.
Anybody watch it that can speak to that? Okay, someone tells us they're trying to rebel. And I think in some of the, just based on some of the posters I've seen from the later seasons, I think she might even become some kind of revolutionary or like figurehead for the, like dystopian stories often are about characters that become these revolutionary leaders against the evil
Like
corpos.
Andor.
Yeah, like Andor or like um Hunger Games, all kinds of stuff. All right, anyone else have questions on story engine?
Maybe just more of a comment, but I've noticed if you just have strong characters or factions, that the story can just kind of write itself, and there'll just be endless drama and conflict between people that want different things strongly.
Sure. Yeah, that's the hope that we want it. Every writer craves it to kind of reach that point where it feels like it writes itself. That means that you're truly in the groove, I would say. But or what do they say? In the flow state or something? In the groove, feels so anxious. All right, let's get into character. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, we just had a question.
On Zoom?
Uh,
Oh no,
yeah,
for you.
for this kind of Dementia Village show, would you say the story engine is like uncovering the secrets of the place? Or like what is actually gonna, I mean,
That's kind of
I
what I
would
was asking
say
about earlier.
he's
If you're
not
supposed,
gonna,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Mhm. Or like, I mean, he's going to see his wife by the end of the episode, so he's gonna know she's alive, and he's gonna be trying to reunite with her. Like, I don't really know, what exactly, season 1 or 2 or whatever, but like,
Right.
it seems like what's driving it is finding out what happened to her exactly, and also like what is she, right? Because you know what is this place? Like, we're not, he starts to believe that it's not actually a dementia village, it's something else. And his wife, is, and everyone who's there, all the patients are veterans, so it's something about military secrets. And he's not going to actually get to the, fundamental like truth of the place until like further on in the show. But I guess what's driving it is like, is it does it make more sense to say the story engine is finding the wife, or the story engine is like, you know, uncovering what, solving the mystery of like what this place is?
It's a great question. I mean, only you can truly answer this, but this is sort of like asking asking you to sort of pick the focus. If this is, well, first of all, let me ask this because this seems to really matter. How can your character remember anything past an episode or no? Like, what is your character's actual mental state?
Yes. It will,
Yeah.
so it'll fluctuate to where he has um scenes where he's more impaired, and it could be due to the exercises that they're teaching them or medication or whatever. But there are other moments where he's very lucid. And I think the big question for him in the pilot is, was the the moment after the cold open, or like when he sort of like woke up and his wife is gone, did 6 years really pass or not? And by the end of the pilot, he's convinced that no, they've been lying to him. His wife has not been dead for 6 years. And that is actually the next day. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that you need to tie together the most so hang on, I got something here. So the way that it works in Severance, for instance, is that the main
Mhm.
character is trying to solve a central but by as season 1 evolves and wraps up and we move into season 2, we see that the central goal is for him to find this person, right? I'm trying not to give it. And should I even? Does anyone mind if I give spoilers for Severance? Maybe it's easier if we just give it all away.
Season 1 spoiler, all good. Season 2 haven't watched yet. I don't know if anyone else.
Oh, you haven't watched it? Okay, never mind. Then I can. I
Hmm.
guess it won't work
Oh.
as that effective.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think if you saw the end of season 1, you at least have the idea of where it's going.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Mark's wife is at Lumen, and he wants to
Mhm.
rescue her, get her out, right? But in order to do that, he has to dive in. He has to keep working at the company, and he has to continue delving into the company and like learning its weird ins and outs, and exploring the other departments and getting to know the people there, and making alliances, and like he has to sort of engage with the central premise of the show in order to accomplish his goal. So I think that you need to tie those two things together and make it such that in order for your character to accomplish his goal of getting my life back on track, or at least like getting my wife back to me, if nothing else, he needs
Mhm.
to do blank, which could be blank would in this case might be figure out what this place is and get to the bottom of it. Or it could be something like I've come to believe my wife is in danger from blank. So now I need to dive deeper
Mhm.
into whatever it is that I think is happening to people here and stop that, because if I stop that from happening, I'll save my wife also. So I think you just need to tie those two things together and not make it feel like two separate questions. Because if he's just like, well, I just want to get my wife, I don't really care about what this place is, then something's off in the engine. Like you need that's in order for
Mhm.
those things, in order for it to work, the best avenue for him to take has to be the one that will take him in the direction of the most interesting questions, in addition to pursuing his personal goal. So you need to kind of like wed that personal goal and the question
Great.
together.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. That makes
Maybe
sense.
I've over explained that and over kneaded the dough on that a little, but I hope that makes any sense. It's kind of it reminds me of this idea in game design, where in game design you have to sort of make the most strategically intelligent thing to do also the most fun thing to do. That's like one of those huge ultimate challenges of game design. The most strategically intelligent thing to do is also the most fun. So you're doing that kind of with a story engine on a TV show also. You're making sure that the most, quote, strategically intelligent thing to do is, in terms of pursuing your character's goal, is also, quote, the most fun in terms of interacting with the core premise elements as you've laid them out. I think I summed that up pretty well there. Nice job. Make that a video, Nacho. But don't include the part where I decide to
Well,
make a
we
video.
will.
It'll look really lame.
Okay.
Don't include
No,
the part where I
that's
high five myself. No one can ever know about that.
that's
Okay.
going to be its own video.
Yeah, it's just be a GIF. Um, anything else you want to ask about that?
No, that's super helpful. Yeah, that makes sense.
Great. All right. Thank you for that. All right, let's get into character. Excuse me. So your character should feel real in the context of their worlds. If they feel like way too realistic in a stylized world, it can feel kind of strange. Ultimately, the best way we understand a character and invest in their journey is by connecting with their goals and wanting the same things that they want, or understanding why they want the things they want, because they can be some version of the things that we want. We're going to feel automatic sympathy or empathy for people in distress. You can build a fair amount of sympathy for a character just by opening on an old man crossing a street and having a truck heading down the road towards him. Suddenly, we're kind of on the old man's side. We want the story heroes to succeed, and the more difficult their journey, the more badly we want them to achieve that goal, especially if we think they're kind of like me, or I understand or feel their pain. So we want to also find them fascinating or interesting and distinctive in their own ways, in addition to understanding what they're pursuing and kind of empathizing with that sort of goal. Even if we wouldn't do that ourselves, we can kind of get why somebody would want that. We can find them competent or scary or funny or clever, and in some sense, just the things that elevate someone from the crowd. They make someone more compelling and magnetic to watch in real life. Those are the same things that make a character compelling. Fleshing out characters. We often like to ask questions that dig a little deeper beneath the surface, like I was talking about how a story engine for a show can expand the setting, the details or backstory for a setting, and continue to peel back layers of that, TV shows can also do that with characters over time, which sort of lead to really layered characters and layered, interesting, complex relationships. We can ask questions like, what do they seem like versus what they are really like? Or how do they perceive themselves and think of themselves versus how do they really act? We can also sometimes see interesting clashes of values and circumstances and distinctions between the characters in terms of just swapping out one element for something unexpected, such as age, gender, ability level, nationality, or anything else. Can you guys give an example, either drawing from any of these on the board if you want to, or a character of your own choice, and talk about the ways that that character, the sort of layers that that character has, and everything that makes them their amazing, complex self?
Is Immortan Joe really that complex?
Well,
I mean, I guess he's got a little bit.
I mean, that one's not a TV show, so not really. I mean, that one is more just for purposes of demonstrating the visuals, right? He's not like an incredibly layered character, but I do want to sort of let's touch on how he positions himself in his leadership position, or like in his leadership role. He sort of frames himself as like a giving father to these people. He's like, I am now going to give you the gift of this water, right? Because he sort of he craves their attention and approval in a certain way, despite the fact that he is really coercing it from them. And the way that he keeps them sort of wanting more is that he gaslights them by saying, don't get addicted to the water. Like, do not become greedy for the water, lest you become addicted to it, right? Like, the way that he sort of manipulates the people into still seeing him as this, like, benevolent figure is a little bit interesting. I mean, I don't, he's not exactly Don Draper. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right, and he's got a few layers of humanity under there, for sure.
He loves his wives. I mean, he's like in an obsessive, terrifying, what possessed, like, overly possessive, captive kind of way. But he legitimately, wants to create his empire. I think he sees himself as like the next rightful lord of the wasteland. Any other characters you guys want to highlight or talk about? More.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Tom from Falling Skies. I'll just keep that same example. Just keep myself consistent today.
Sure.
The thing that makes Tom a great character is, especially in the pilot, this is 6 months after everything just, goes to pot. So he's still trying to grapple with, oh, this is really happening. Like, he's just a normal guy. He's a normal person who's just trying to figure out how to survive the alien invasion and trying not to die, trying to figure out where food is. Like, literally the first scene is like, oh, we're running out of stuff. like where are we gonna get stuff? How a normal person goes through that. It's great. And throughout the show, yeah. So throughout the show, he kind of he was never timid, but he kind of steps into leadership because he's paired with this military general who's like, no, we're following it by the book, we're following it the orders, and Tom is like, there is no government anymore. Like, we have to be the government now. Like, we have to be reasonable, and he doesn't want to lead, but he realizes he has to, because if he doesn't, then the general guy is just going to, they're not, they don't want to be the military, but they're going to act like the military, and he is like, no, I didn't sign up to be in the army. I signed up to survive, not be in the army. And so it's that clash that is really prevalent in the show, and he kind of slowly has to kind of adopt a little bit of that. And it's just a great, like, if you haven't seen the show, it's really worth watching, just because, especially the first season, just because of how Tom is not necessarily becomes more of, like, he doesn't become like I'm the greatest person ever season one, but it definitely is like the I have no choice now. I'm the only person that is sane,
Yeah.
basically.
This is a really common arc in post-apocalyptic genre is the leadership.
Yeah.
So character goes from um, being either a loner or they're the protector of a small clan. And then they have to let people in to their clan and in whatever way. So whether that's a partnership or whether that's I have to join a group or whether that is, I'm the only one competent enough to lead these survivors. And the character gains competence and responsibility and respect and sort of needs to, at some point, pass on that responsibility to someone else. So that kind of forms the foundation of a lot of zombie kind of survival horror post-apocalypse sort of media is asking which character will step forward and take charge and be the next leader. All right, let's just do one. Let's design a gang. Anyone who has not done this activity yet? We did 2 of these last time. Anybody like to take a swing at this one?
I have not done this.
Okay, this will be fun. We wrote out a bunch of different options last time, so these are drawn from the chat. Why don't you pick one setting on the left, and then we'll pick the other 2 options for you.
Okay, setting. They live in, I gotta go with the church.
Okay. They live in the church, and they've mastered the deadly art of electric scooters.
All right. This would be right at home in Twisted Metal, honestly. Okay, electric scooters. Are you talking about like mobility wheelchairs or
You can interpret it however you want.
okay. I'm thinking like lithium batteries that detonate and catch on fire, and that's their secret weapon. It's like, oh, we'll look weak and pathetic on our little motorized scooters, but then once those batteries ignite, never know what hit them.
I think the person might have been referring to these, these sort of these app operated like bird and lime scooters like these.
Yeah, the kind of thing a delivery guy takes into an elevator and then the elevator catches on fire.
Right. Exactly. All right. So I wonder what's the connection between the church and the scooters. Do they worship the scooters, or are they like a youth group that happened to use the scooters and they like used it a lot and they became their vehicle of choice? What do you think?
So the church just had this giant, warehouse full of these things for their little evangelists, missionaries to go around the neighborhood, delivering the good news to people's doorsteps. So whatever gang takes over the church, just like, oh, what are we going to do with all these scooters? And the answer is war.
War for Christ. Why do I only imagine they'd have like a bunch of half pipes and stuff in the church, and so they're just like in the middle of madness. They're just doing kick flips. Like this feels like this would be in Turbo Kid or something like that.
I mean, they don't necessarily have to be religious or like
That's
Christian.
true.
They could be,
yeah. I was just wondering.
they could be, they could create their own religion, and just use the church as their holy temple. Yeah, this would be at home Turbo Kid for sure.
All right, that's pretty fun. Okay, so the deadly art of motor scooters. So they kill people with the scooters as well.
Yeah, they trap them in an elevator and ignite the battery.
Do they have like spikes on the wheels and stuff? Like, what do they got? Do they have like flamethrowers on the handlebars?
No, I think they make themselves look weak and vulnerable, and then when raider gangs like attack them, they ignite the battery and unleash the fury of the scooter.
So the scooter sets on fire, or they're throwing it like a grenade?
Yeah.
The battery,
or maybe even like almost like a suicide bomber or something. Like, they go out there in the wasteland, driving at 4 miles an hour, waiting for some Mad Max gang to like accost them, and then once they, get too close, they hit they maybe they have some kind of accelerant that they douse everybody in, and then they ignite the battery, and yeah,
and they also they're doused in, so they're wearing sort of flameproof suits, and they're now completely on
Yeah,
fire,
there you go.
chasing people down. Okay, that's pretty cool. I can see that. I would like to see that at night. Shoot that at night. It would look amazing. And also somehow I feel like they have LEDs on the wheels. Like, they gotta have lights on those things.
Got to, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hmm.
Rock and roll.
The question is, how do they charge these things? I mean, the generator.
Yeah, they have a
Oh
actually,
yeah,
the half pipe could be used for that. Maybe they have a bunch of
no, they capture slaves and they make them pedal bicycles to charge their scooter
yeah,
army.
yeah, it's like an endless aerobics class that just never ends.
Yeah.
All right, well done. What's the gang's name?
Um, the Holy Fire. I don't know. I could. It'll take me a while to workshop a good one.
Okay.
There's something really funny there. Something with
Holy-
like Scoot, some play on
Holy
word.
rollers. Yeah, something. You'll find it.
Holy Rollers is pretty low hanging fruit, but I like it, so why not?
Okay. We'll call them holy rollers for now until something better comes up. This feels like almost like this would be a gang in Bible Man. Like the world of Bible Man. All right, but unless they're not actually religious, and they, in fact, just living in the church, in which case it would not be a Bible Man. All right, thank you for that. I just wanted one of those for now, but we can come back to it later if somebody really wants to. We are wrapping up, or we're continuing on, I should say. We have a few more slides on character. Then, of course, we will look at character from situation as an exercise. And then we will wrap up with questions and lab and workshop time. All right, let's keep going with character. So, a lot of the time, the situation is what you start with. In terms of a TV show, we don't always know who the lead character is. Sometimes we're just like, how about a show about explorers on the moon? How about a show about deep sea divers that stumble across monsters at the bottom of the sea? We have no idea who the main character is because you're starting from the perspective of, well, what's the general premise? What is the group of characters that is engaging in this action? A lot of the time, the hook or the main character can be an intrinsic part of your hook, though, especially because we can find the hook a lot of the time by asking, well, we've seen shows like X before, but we've never seen one where X, blank, interesting angle here. I mentioned like the Book of Eli earlier. He is the sort of post-apocalyptic wanderer, Mad Max kind of show movie, but main character is blind. Okay, there's an interesting twist, something we have not necessarily seen. Some new POV or tone or style or setting. Let's look at character from situation, and we have an exercise here to reconsider a plot line in a different genre that might just sort of give you some ideas as to how to think of the character. So it will have an interesting situation. You'll think of who would be the most interesting person to be the lead in that situation. So the normal show would be a drama about a dancer rising through the ranks of the world's top ballet academy, fighting tooth and nail for the coveted lead roles. So that you might imagine that's like the starting point. And we're thinking of what would a dystopian version of that be? And who would be the lead character to put at the heart of that story? Anyone have any initial ideas?
Maybe they're worshipped as like goddesses or something.
Okay. You mean the ballerinas are like a class or like an upper class or a
Yeah,
caste or something like this? Maybe they're competing for special slots for them to be treated differently from the
eating
rest
for
of
godhood.
Okay. Maybe ballerinas have some sort of power or authority in the world, you're saying?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Um,
Could be cool.
I
Or
think
the
we can
ballerinas
do
are the ones
something
that
there.
are like, performers in this world are the only ones that are exempt from the lottery to see who gets eaten or whatever. Cinnamon suggests a zombie trying to dance. Okay. The zombie would probably still do better than me. Dakota thinks to go Cloud Atlas or Soylent Green. So that would be something like an institution that is kind of like killing its own members for some reason. Maybe.
What if it's a death game?
Okay, death game.
Yeah, it's just entertainment, like, America's top ballerina, and the ones that don't make it get killed.
Yeah, exactly. So, whoever Simon Cowell gets, we have like a golden buzzer every week, and we have like a red buzzer, and the red buzzer equals death. And so you better make sure to nail your recital. That sounds pretty good. That would be on CW. People would watch that. If somebody wants to write that, you should. What else you guys got? Anything else? Any other ideas?
It could be a like historical dystopia too.
Okay.
So it could be like in the like I don't know 1500 for example, and the the ballerina could be it could be like a very elite school still, but the difference is that they're um they're like the only survivors of like the plague. So like the new plague is coming around. Um and they're kind of trying to uh survive, but they end up being like basically the new like plague doctors pretty much.
Wait, hang on. Take me back into. We're dancing to see who gets to become a plague doctor. Make the connection.
Yeah.
What's the connection?
Yep. So it could be like where you have to use ballet as kind of like how football players use ballet, right? To gain
Like
coordination.
balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you would have to use so the idea would be you use ballet as a way to kind of move around and through the space because there's so many people you don't want to get infected because back in that period there was a lot of theories about how the disease was spread.
Right,
So it could be a way of how to maneuver through.
right.
So yeah, you were being a ballerina in that sense, but you're also being trained to be a doctor.
Okay. Some leopard
Yeah,
reaches for you, and you're like pirouette away. You can't get me.
exactly. Exactly.
I'm gonna just like do a perfect turn and just escape from all the gross little leopard fingers. Nobody quote me on that. All right. That's an out there idea. Thank you for that. Okie doke. I've got one more. This one is going to be a sitcom. Two people in a quirky small town operate a mom and pop mechanic shop. But let's try post-apocalyptic. And now let's ask, who are those two people? It doesn't have to be a husband and wife. It doesn't have to be a father and son. What is it, Sanford and Son? Isn't that what the premise is? Like this is Sanford and Son in Fallout World, I guess. But what do you guys think? A post-apocalyptic mechanic show. Who do you want as the two leads? Who's going to create an interesting dynamic?
I'm not sure about the characters, but I want to see Mad Max kind of setting. Just, the wastelanders like pulling up to this little mom and pop shop with their, 18 wheelers and their crazy drag racers with spikes and flames and things.
Sure. Yeah, something about it to me feels like a Taika Waititi kind of like a half-hour show. It would be like almost has like a Letterkenny kind of vibe to it. Like it would be just like desolate, middle of absolute nowhere garage, and all these
Yeah.
colorful locals kind of show up week by week and
Call
cause
it,
various problems. Go ahead.
we call it pit stop, and the station could be in like the bottom of a crater or something.
I love it. That's so good. Okay, now we just need characters. Let's go with that pit stop. Who would be creating an interesting dynamic here? Well, first of all, we have to think who would be able to do the job, right? So that's going to give you some clues. Anyone want to take a swing at the characters?
Let's get weird with it. How about a robot?
Okay, great. A robot you could easily see would have a great eye for mechanics. They themselves are mechanical, so they can scan the whole machine and they can, see all the changes they need to make and make themselves can be covered in all these interchangeable parts that they've swapped out from various stuff in the wasteland. So yeah, robot, great character. Who are you gonna
And
stick with the
then
robot?
somebody unlikely. Um,
How about a fish?
a fish. Yeah, I was thinking a kid, but uh,
What do you want to do? Okay,
fish.
fish or kid?
I think I like kid more.
Okay, all right,
Kid mechanic and a robot. Like maybe
all
the
right.
kid is the apprentice or something, or uh, I don't know. There could be all kinds of different dynamics to explore there.
Yeah, let's just pick something. So what have we not seen before? I think we've seen like the little Anakin, right? Anakin is the inventor with the friendly robots that he built himself. Let's pick something else. Maybe something weirder. The kid doesn't
Like
want to
the
be
feral
there.
kid.
Okay, what have you
Yeah.
got?
Are you familiar with the feral kid from Mad Max 2?
Thunder is it from Thunderdome. That's the one I actually haven't seen.
No,
No, which one is it
no,
from?
it's the
It's just from Mad Max.
the Road Warrior.
It's been a while
I
since
think
I've
that's what
seen
it's
it.
called.
I guess it has been too long, but I understand the trope or the archetype of the feral wasteland child.
Yeah, just a like an orphan, completely feral, grew up in the wasteland, raised by dogs or dingoes or something, radioactive toads, who knows? Um,
And got
and
raised by a robot.
yeah, like maybe the robot is kind of like a Codsworth type, like this like old-timey butler,
Okay.
or what would be an interesting dynamic to just be totally opposite to the feral kid kind of archetype.
Yeah.
Um,
Pick something you've never seen.
maybe he's like a sheriff. I don't know. We've probably seen that. Maybe he's uh maybe he's not programmed to do cars. He grew into it. What could he be? What was his original purpose, or it rather, the
Uh,
robot?
maybe like making tanks or war machines or something like that. But now he's fixing up like little buggies and civilian type vehicles. You
Funny that instead of like war, because we're in a Mad Max universe, like what's the opposite of that? Like maybe he's making recliners or
what if he was like one of those guys that did like pimp they did like hydraulic pimp my ride kind of stuff. Like he would add all these modifications to make the card. Go ahead.
I think Cinnamon wins.
Ooh.
Self-help robot. He's a therapist.
Yeah,
He just the apocalypse happened and he picked up mechanics because he's a robot and he can learn to do anything basically.
yeah.
Um,
Now he's a therapist to the machines, so to speak.
well, and he's trying to give the little kid therapy, the little feral child, like uh yeah, man, that kid's gonna have problems.
Yeah,
Like
let that.
imagine being raised by
What would the character art kind of look like there?
uh maybe the I guess the kid would just want to kill and maim and things, and then the robot would sort of have to adopt this like parental role and have to sort of like learn that like okay, like we're in the wasteland, like yeah, I should be more allowing of this kind of behavior and not try to raise the kid like it was before the apocalypse. I don't know, like
Oh,
let the
okay.
kid actually play into their more violent instincts or something. I don't know.
Okay, so the robot himself is by the end he's like, it's okay to be a little bit nuts. The world is ended, so the rules have changed. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Like, if you want to kill, you know, mutants and cannibals, go right ahead.
Yeah,
I,
by the end he's
you know,
recommending it as like a release. What have you considered? Maybe bashing a couple Raiders' heads off as a stress relieving option.
this is great. Uh, yeah,
Good
we've
call out.
definitely never seen that before, and I would watch this.
There you go. So we won't get we'll save more on character arcs for next week. But basically, the idea here is we're charting how your character changes from beginning to the end of the show. But really, you are looking at just the pilot, so you have to kind of be moving them from A to I mentioned A to B instead of A to Z. So we're not going to watch the robot go all the way from standoffish therapist that thinks he would never adopt a child to reluctantly taking on this apprentice and then turning to try to change and civilize him. We wouldn't be going all the way through that in the first episode. We would probably want to introduce the kid, set up a little resistance between them. We want to watch something. We want to watch your plot be catalyzed into motion. So, meaning we step over some kind of threshold, meaning your character makes a choice, as in we take in this kid and start realizing the problems that that's going to cause and having to deal with those problems and apply tactics to make progress in solving those problems. Sometimes in storylines like that, the character will have some goalpost that they're trying to reach to get rid of the kid, like Last of Us. And they're like, once I get to that point, then I won't want you anymore, and you're out of my hair for good. But of course, we all know that arc involves a beat where the character becomes attached to the thing that they thought they would never want in their life. And so that would all sort of be down the line. But in the pilot, you can still hint at that. You want to just show like the cracks starting to form. If you make them just have that breakthrough in the pilot, it'll feel like there's no track to go down for the rest of the show. But the tricky balancing act is that you have to not hold anything back. You have to not hold the best stuff back, but you have to still feel like it is building to something better. I hope that makes sense. I know it sounds impossible. You have to give the best thing you have, but make it seem like there's something better down the road. But that's sort of the huge challenge of writing only the first installment of a much longer storyline. We'll get more into character arc in the following weeks. Also introduce some characters we'll return to later as well. I think I'll finish off today with just things to avoid in terms of characters. First of all, watch out for cliches and clams. Clams are things like, can somebody name off the top of their head a character introduction clam? There's one that is sort of like the classic screenwriting joke line to tell us who a person is. Somebody know it? Or do you not know it?
You may wonder how I ended up here.
No, this is a character intro, not like a line of character, not dialogue, but that's the way to write the script. This is hot but doesn't know it, and that is the considered like so cliche nowadays. If you use that, you have to like find some twist to do on it. You have to be like hot and knows it or something like that. You can like find some sort of like adjustment to it, but hot but doesn't know it is the one of the biggest clams in screenwriting. Don't write it sincerely, or else you will look like you were born in 1935. What else? Any other clams or cliches you guys can think of? There's one for men as well. Papa doesn't know it is usually for women. Usually coded more towards female characters. But there's one for men that is, do you guys know this one? Ruggedly
handsome?
Yeah, basically ruggedly handsome, ruggedly attractive kind of thing. There's certain literary ones as well in novels that don't quite cross over into screenwriting, but screenwriting has its own cliches and its own clams. What are any other cliches you guys can think of in terms of characters?
I don't know. I think I could think of cliche character archetypes like a manic pixie dream girl, or the soldier with a heart of gold.
Yeah, these things can all
Gotta be a few.
Certainly. Yeah, we are running a little low on time, so we won't go way too into this today. But the point is not that those archetypes can never work, especially if you even look at what's popular now. There are things that are just straight up archetypes that are incredibly, like think of Harley Quinn. That is one of the more popular movie characters on TV now. Is she a manic pixie dream girl? Yeah, like the psycho manic pixie dream girl variety. But yes, that is a straight version of that stereotype. People like archetypes. We like to see tropes. If you play them well, if you write them well, then they remind us of everything we love about the genre. But you really just want to avoid using them in ineffective ways. Like we don't want to use archetypes or tropes to act as a stand-in for characterization, and we don't want to a cliche only becomes a cliche when it is no longer accomplishing its initial effect, right? Like the creepy clown, for instance, isn't quite as shocking anymore. So you have to be aware of just things that have been oversaturated or overexposed and no longer just have their initial effect. If you hear a joke 100 times, it's no longer as funny. We'll get more to that later. For the moment, I think we do have to move to questions, and then we will open now for the last 15. Anybody want to ask a question about characters and story engine?
What about shows with a clear villain, particularly one that we really want to die, but they have plot arbor and they just keep surviving somehow?
Okay. And you mean in our genres of our topic, or just any?
Yeah, I guess particularly more like dystopia, but it could also apply to post-apocalyptic.
Okay. Characters with one bad guy who we really want to die. Or shows with one.
Yeah, as part of the main story engine, yeah.
We could, I mean, to a large extent, Dedra is sort of like the central antagonist of Andor. I mean, more so than Vader is, more so than Krennic is. We could count Dedra or Krennic, I suppose, in a way. They're sort of like the ones that are like hunting the main character specifically down, despite the fact that it is a much broader conflict. Um, what other
Yeah, and
examples can you guys think of? Go ahead.
they put her in harm's way occasionally. She doesn't feel like she has plot armor. Just things work out for her.
Yeah, she just is an officer, so just doesn't have that much reason to get involved, except in the Gorman massacre scene, in which she is directly in the crosshairs for a little bit.
Yeah, but there's just so much going on. It's like impossible to just assassinate her out in the open.
Yeah. So what was interesting about this question to you? Right? Is it the idea of having like this the like what would make a good central villain for a TV show like this? Is that the fascinating part to you?
The fascinating part is how do we keep them alive week after week
Keep
without
them
sort
alive.
of, making it feel contrived.
Okay, good question. Well, let's ask how do we keep Dedra alive? So she is strategic and clever and has no reason to actually get involved. So all of her involvement is sort of through third-party orders that she's giving. We see like the ramifications of those orders. We see agents that she's hiring, and they are the ones going to carry those things out. But she herself just hasn't like would not want to put herself in harm's way. A lot of the time, especially in dystopians, the main bad guy has incredible resources at their disposal. So even coming face to face with the rebel scum of the heroes would be a big mistake for them, and they know it. So I think just the villain plays it smart and has overwhelming resources compared to the hero. It makes it easy to keep them far apart. Other ways, your villain can't be killed. They are immortal, or they resurrect every time they are killed, like Michael Myers or something like that, right? Like one of the slasher villains. They keep coming back from the dead, or they respawn somehow. You could have it so that they completely outmatch the hero, so they just win every fight. A lot of superhero shows kind of work like that, right? Like even if the hero does win for once, the villain still manages to get away, or at the very least, they steal the bag of money, and the hero is not able to catch them before they get away. So just make sure their powers are just a little greater than the heroes. What else can you do? You can any other ideas, guys? Go ahead.
I guess you can have the Batman thing where the hero's moral code prevents them from killing
Oh,
the
sure.
Joker.
Yeah, or the Predator has a similar thing too, where Predator has some moral warrior ethical code where he just will not kill certain opponents. It is against his nature to do so. That can be a good spot where you reach the point in your show where your characters they can't kill the villain because they wouldn't because it would go against everything they believe. Sometimes you can position it so killing the bad guy would betray your character's deepest convictions. That's a great way to keep them alive. How else do we keep the villain alive? A big mech suit. There's a good one for her.
Just make them untouchable, like President Snow in the Hunger Games.
Sure. They
Uh,
have a really big tower
even-
with like a million guards. You know who they always give a mech suit to just to put him in the fighting games? Lex Luthor. So that's kind of an example, right? Like Lex Luthor is just a bald guy. How do we put
yeah,
him in a fighting game against Superman? We get mech suit. The great equalizer, as I call it. Cinnamon mentions maybe the hero needs something from the villain, and killing them outright wouldn't do it. Or maybe they have a closer connection, like in Invincible, where the
yeah,
main villain is the main character's dad. He can't just kill his dad.
yeah. I was gonna say brothers. That could work.
Sure. Family connections make for a great reason for characters to not pull the trigger. Anything else you guys can think of? Okay, thank you for that question. Let's reopen to any questions, pilot issues, or ideas, log lines for feedback, or anything else that would be helpful.
I guess you could help me figure out sort of a discovery beat for Act 3 of my status quo pilot.
Okay.
The 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 A plot, or I don't know if it's the A plot. The plot of the whole show is that this alien infiltrator is doing something to the computer core, and we find out that it is, I guess, disabling the AI inhibitors. But it's doing this basically in order to chat up the computer. Like the alien is like hitting on the computer or like flirting or something. And then I want them to resolve the issue by basically getting married. Um, and then they instantly sort of like feel like an old married couple because they're so much more advanced than the rest of the crew, I guess. But I'm wondering how to, without, I guess we could just talk to it directly, and I have set up a way to talk to it, but without talking to it, is there a way to discover that the alien just wants to hook up with the ship's computer? So it's a bit of a strange one, I know. Uh,
Yeah, I'm like blinking guy meme. He wants to hook. The alien wants to have sex with the spaceship.
no, he wants more like love and companionship
Oh,
than like he's
Does he
hyper
know?
intelligent and he needs like a hyper intelligent mind to connect with. Hmm.
okay. How does he know it's hyper intelligent?
Um,
Is that
probably
classical
by
Starship?
scanning,
Go ahead.
probably just by scanning it, and he sees it like, oh, they're like enslaving this computer, or they're like reducing its operational runtime, and they
Oh,
put all these AI limiters on it to sort of keep it stupid.
okay. But he sees its capacity, and he's like heart swelling sound effect violin in the background, like zooming in, love at first sight kind of thing. When he's like, "Wow, look at the it goes up to 900 billion trillion RAM." Like, wow, I'm in love, like that kind of thing.
Maybe we get a little bit of a clue, like he's forced to watch some commercials before he can um, bypass the computer in the beginning or bypass the perimeter in the beginning. And one of
Okay.
the commercials is like an insurance commercial where a computer falls in love with I forget what the appliance is. A computer falls in love with some other mechanical appliance, and they have a baby calculator, and he's like really transfixed by this ad for some reason. But
Okay. That's what gives him the idea, you're saying.
yeah,
Okay. And then uh I guess he assumes that a ship of that size I forget what the question was at this point. What was the question again?
so how do our human crewmen, our duo specifically, how would they discover maybe in a more interesting way than just talking to the alien what the alien is up to with the computer?
Oh, okay. Well, is he like bringing it flowers and stuff, or what kind of world is this? Like, does the alien have this a sense of our own
Oh,
courtship rituals, or is the alien does it have its own courtship rituals?
I think it would have courtship rituals that would be easy enough for people to understand, like
Yeah,
flowers and that kind of thing.
that's my question, right? But if you are a spacefaring species, would flowers make sense, or like what do you think it would be?
I don't know, like snacks from the vending machine, but that doesn't really work for something you would give a computer. But
Yeah.
I don't know, just gifts, and maybe he's writing her like music or poetry or I don't know, this kind of thing.
Does the computer have emotions, or does the ship have emotions, or something approximating them?
Yeah, it has a personality. It's CC, which stands for corporate computer, and it's this like chirpy female kind of secretary personality.
Oh, okay. Well, I could see the alien either, yeah, doing various types of courtship towards the holograms of CC, if that's what they have, or perhaps even going on dates with it, or attempting to get ready to go on dates with it, trying to impress it in various ways. Uh, what else you guys got?
I suppose we could just walk in on them like having
What?
sex. Like I didn't
All
think
right,
they would
here
go
we.
that far, but
I knew it was going there.
that's funny. That would be funny. Like, they like, all right, we're about to confront the alien and figure out what the hell is going wrong with the computer, and they just walk in on them together.
So the
Uh,
alien, they have the concept of marriage, but it doesn't mind sort of sex before marriage, I guess is what we're assessing here.
I guess. Yeah, but I mean
Yeah. Take it for a test drive, I
the
guess.
well, to solve all the problems, like multiple problems, it's going to be the acting captain, which is our protagonist, marries the alien to the computer so that the alien can become a crew member and the computer can stop malfunctioning and it'll fix everything basically.
Okay. Uh, I can't remember if I answered the question, but I hope that gave you some ideas. I think that whatever the
I,
alien courtship looks like might be a way of your character seeing and understanding what it was trying to do there.
okay. Yeah, that could because we have a character that has more sort of book knowledge. Maybe he could reference his xenobiology or his like alien courtship ritual database or something.
Yeah, check
Be
out
like,
your
oh, this is
Hitchhiker's
what they
Guide.
do on, yeah, okay. Like this resembles an ancient courting ritual on Mentawkin 7 or, some sci-fi gobbledygook.
Yeah,
That could
that'll also sort
kind
of
of
give
work.
us a sense of how delusional is the alien. I mean, like, is there any truth in what he's talking about? Like, could the computer actually love him? Like, is he going to give it something it might actually appreciate, or is he just nuts?
Um, well, they will fall in love and then they will get married and then they will go through basically 40 years of marriage instantaneously and then they will be bickering and arguing like an old married couple
Okay.
end episode.
All right. Fair enough. Well, thank you for the question. Hope that gives you some ideas there. We do have to wrap up. We have the end of our time. Thank you for joining, everybody. Please sign up on the sign up sheets for more classes like this. This was a free and public 2 hour long class. We've got more classes in this series 6 weeks for a TV pilot, 8 weeks for a feature, 12 weeks for a novel. Novels is 12 to 2 on Saturdays. Features right now is 11 to 1 on Sundays, except for on the 26th, because that is our Spooktacular downtown LA. So look us up on Meetup if you want to find out more info there. Thank you for coming by, everybody. We'll see you next time, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend.